My name is Meredith Lorne. I am 60 years old. On my final morning at Hawthorne Elementary, I unlocked my office door the way I had for more than 3 decades. But the room felt different. The quiet had a texture to it, something soft and final, as if the walls understood, before I did, that this was the last time I would switch on the small desk lamp or straighten the framed drawings my students left for me over the years. Mrs. Kellerman from 3rd grade stopped by with a paper cup of tea. "You will hate retirement for 2 weeks," she said, patting my arm, "and then you will love it." I smiled, though the truth was I had no idea what I would love. I had been a widow since I was 40, and work had been the one place where my days moved with purpose. A little boy named Theo appeared next, clutching a lopsided card he had drawn. "My mom said you are leaving," he whispered, "but I think you should stay." I knelt and hugged him. His small arms tightened around my neck, and for a moment I had to close my eyes to steady myself. When the hallway emptied again, the quiet returned. That was when my phone buzzed. It was a text from my son, Evan. "Madison planned the entire dinner. Just enjoy tonight," Evan's text read, nudging me toward her carefully orchestrated evening. I stared at the screen, unable to move. My daughter-in-law had a talent for making kindness sound like obligation and concern sound like control. She always smiled, always spoke gently, but somehow I walked away from every conversation with her feeling smaller. I typed back, "Okay." Even though something in my chest tightened, I tried to shake it off, telling myself I was tired, overthinking, letting nerves get ahead of me. Retirement was emotional. Anyone would feel unsettled. I packed the last of my classroom folders and student keepsakes into a cardboard box and switched off the lamp. As I pulled the door closed behind me, I felt the weight of a moment I could not yet name. A faint shift in the air, like a step taken in the wrong direction without knowing it. And by the time I reached the parking lot, Madison's message was still echoing in my mind. I arrived at Evan's house that afternoon to drop off a box of old family photos he wanted for the slideshow. Madison opened the door before I could knock. Her smile was bright enough to belong in a magazine. "Meredith," she said, kissing the air near my cheek, "you look adorable. That sweater is so comfortable." Her tone landed exactly where she meant it to. I murmured a thank you and stepped inside. Evan was in the kitchen, stacking dishes. Mom brought the pictures. He said, his voice was warm, but he would not look directly at either of us. That was how he handled tension. He pretended the air was not thick with it. Madison lifted the photo on top. It was a picture of my late husband holding Evan on his shoulders. Her smile faltered for a split second, just a flicker, before she forced it back into place. "We should probably skip these old ones," she said lightly. "People get bored. They want something modern." "It is his father," I replied. "I know," she said, brushing past me. "But this night is about celebrating now, not then." Evan's shoulders stiffened. "Madison, Mom brought them because I asked." She shot him a look so quick and sharp he almost winced. "I am just trying to make things perfect." Later, as she walked me to the door, Madison lowered her voice. "By the way, Evan and I discussed the rising property taxes. Perhaps it's worth considering transferring ownership for simplicity. Of course, my finances are fine." I said. Her smile returned, smooth and practiced. "Of course, I just want what is best for you." Evan hovered behind her, torn, uncertain. He opened his mouth, closed it again. Madison tapped my arm. "Tonight will be lovely. Just trust me." As I stepped onto the porch, I realized she had never actually said my name kindly, not once. Not without something hidden underneath. The moment I stepped into the restaurant, I knew Madison had planned every inch of it. Crystal glasses, towering flower arrangements, a live quartet. Nothing about it looked like the quiet retirement dinner I once imagined. Evan waved when he saw me, but he was already being pulled toward a group of his co-workers. Madison drifted over, touching my elbow lightly as though guiding a fragile object. "Meredith, you made it. Come, let me show you your seat." I followed her through a maze of tables until she stopped at one placed near the back wall. My name card was tucked beside a chair at the side, away from the main stage but still visible. "This is the calmest spot," she said. "Less noise for you. I can sit near Evan." She shook her head with a soft laugh. "The main table is overflowing. You will be more comfortable here." Before I could answer, she was already gliding off to greet donors and friends, her voice bright, her posture perfect. A few minutes later, the lights dimmed for the slideshow Evan had made. Photos of my years at the school flashed across the screen. Then an older picture appeared, my late husband holding a toddler Evan at the harbor. Across the room, Madison froze. Her smile faltered, her eyes lingering on the image. Tension tightening across her features. She did not blink. Her fingers tightened around her wine glass until her knuckles went white. Evan nudged her gently. "Are you all right?" "I am fine," she said too quickly. "Move to the next photo." But she kept staring, even after the image disappeared. When the lights brightened again, she turned away sharply and began rearranging the place cards at the main table, shifting seats, correcting the smallest details as if something had knocked her off balance. For the first time that evening, I saw Madison's mask slip, but only for a heartbeat. The dinner had reached that careful, glittering moment when everyone held a glass and waited for the cue to toast. Evan stood beside Madison at the main table, smiling politely as the guests praised my years at Hawthorne Elementary. I sat several tables back, half hidden behind a tall centerpiece, close enough to hear, but far enough to feel unnecessary. Madison tapped her spoon against her champagne glass. "Everyone," she called, her voice lifted with practiced confidence. "Let us raise a toast to Meredith Lorne, our beloved retired school counselor." A few claps, a few smiles. I stood, unsure if she expected me to. Madison tilted her head and gave me a gleaming smile. Look at her, our dear widow, standing there as if she might give a speech. The room chuckled soft, unsure. Her tone was sweet, but the words landed like stones. Evan blinked. "Madison, what are you—" She cut him off with a laugh. "Oh, relax. Meredith knows I am teasing. Sit down, dear. You do not matter in this part." My knees weakened. A ripple of silence passed through the tables. Someone whispered my name. I forced myself to smile, the way I always did when people underestimated me. My hands trembled as I lowered myself back into my chair. "Mom," Evan said sharply. "Stand back up." I shook my head. "It is fine." "No, it is not." His voice rose, louder than I had ever heard it. He stepped toward the microphone. "Madison, apologize to my mother." Madison's smile stiffened. "Evan, do not be dramatic. Apologize," he repeated. She laughed once, a short, brittle sound. "You cannot be serious." "Say it," he demanded. "Right now." Guests stopped eating. A fork clattered. Someone from the quartet shifted uncomfortably. Madison's face flushed. "I will not apologize for a joke. If people are this sensitive, then maybe this whole night was a mistake." Evan's jaw tightened. "You humiliated her." "I did not humiliate anyone," she snapped. "She humiliates herself every time she clings to this sad, lonely widow persona." My breath caught. Evan took a step toward her. "That is enough," he said. "Get off the stage." Madison's eyes flashed with anger and calculating fear, a deeper tension I had not seen before. She grabbed her clutch, pushed past Evan. and walked out of the restaurant without looking back. Several guests whispered as the door closed behind her. Evan turned toward me. Guilt and fury tangled in his expression. I could not meet his eyes. I kept my gaze on the tablecloth, trying to steady my breathing as the room slowly, awkwardly returned to motion. The humiliation lingered, sharp and alive. Long after the music began again, the morning after the dinner, my phone buzzed before the sun was fully up. At first, I ignored it. I thought it was Evan checking on me. But the buzzing kept going. Insistent, frantic. When I finally picked it up, I saw more than 20 messages. The first was from a former student, Mrs. Lorne. Are you okay? Look online. Someone is posting things about you. I opened the link. A long post sat at the top of a local community forum under an anonymous name. Meredith Lorne has been controlling her son. She refuses to let go of her assets. She pretends to be fragile. But she is greedy and controlling. Ask anyone close to her. My chest tightened. Another post appeared underneath. She plays the innocent widow act, but she is emotionally unstable. Evan should take over her finances before she hurts herself. My hands shook as I scrolled. Every line was a twist of the knife. A knock came at my door. Evan stood there, hair uncombed, still in yesterday's shirt. Mom, he said breathlessly. I saw it. I do not understand. Why would someone write these things I do not know? I said quietly. He pushed his hands through his hair. People are sharing it. My coworkers already texted. They think there might be something wrong with you. There is nothing wrong with me, I said. I know, he whispered. But this looks planned. I exhaled slowly. This started later that night. Someone wants people to believe these things. Evan looked at me, guilt rising in his eyes. Do you think this is about last night, about what I said to Madison? I did not answer. His silence said enough. He stepped closer. Mom, we cannot let this spread. I agree, I said. I have been quiet my whole life, but not this time. His shoulders eased a little. Then what do? We find out who is behind it, I said. And we stop them. And for the first time in a long time, my voice did not shake. By mid-afternoon, the anonymous posts had doubled. Evan forwarded each one with growing anger, but I kept my responses short. I needed clarity, not panic. I sat at my dining table with my laptop open, scrolling through usernames, timestamps, phrasing. Whoever wrote these messages knew details only someone close to us would know: my retirement date, the neighborhood I lived in, even the year Evan moved out. Evan called. Mom, these accounts were created yesterday, all within an hour. Then this was planned. I replied. He hesitated. Do you think Madison? I do not want to guess. I said, but I know someone who might help. After we hung up, I searched through old contacts stored in a dusty box labeled Ethan's Things. My late husband had kept very few friendships. But one name still lingered: Richard Hale, a co-worker from his 20s. I had not spoken to him in over 10 years, but I dialed anyway. He answered on the third ring. Meredith, I never thought I would hear your voice again. I need to ask you something about Ethan, I said. It is important. There was a long pause. When Richard spoke again, his voice dropped. You found out, did you? My stomach tightened. Found out what? That he had a child before he met you. The room seemed to tilt. A child. She was born when he was 21, Richard said. The relationship with the mother ended badly. There was a custody fight. He tried to be involved, but it got complicated. Eventually, he walked away. He regretted it for years. Meredith, he just never told you. My mouth went dry. Do you know her name? Yes, Richard said softly. Madison. The phone nearly slipped from my hand. I forced myself to breathe as Richard continued. I saw her once. Years ago. She looked enough like Ethan that it hurt. I closed my eyes. Images rushed together Madison's cold smiles. Her fixation on my house, her digs about my age, her discomfort whenever Ethan's photo appeared. All those small, sharp moments suddenly aligned. She married my son. I whispered. Richard exhaled heavily. Then he is in the middle of something he does not understand. After we hung up, I sat there in the quiet, the truth settling over me like a heavy coat. Madison had not just married into my family. She had circled back to the life her father built without her. I reached for my phone to call Evan. Before I dialed, another thought slipped in, colder, darker, painfully clear. Madison did not just want access. She wanted control, something she believed she had been denied from the start. Evan arrived at my house less than an hour after I called him. He paced my living room with both hands on his head, his breath sharp and uneven. "Mom, you are telling me Madison is Dad's daughter?" I nodded. Richard confirmed it. "She was born when your father was 21. Evan stopped pacing. "Why did he never tell us? I do not know." I said, "Shame, maybe, regret." But he never spoke her name. Not once. Evan leaned against the wall, eyes red. "She married me because of him." He said it like the air had been kicked out of him. I opened my laptop to distract him from the pain. There is more. I turned the screen toward him. I pulled metadata from the anonymous posts. "Look." Evan stepped forward, squinting. This IP address, is that ours?" "No," I said. "It is a shared network from her office building. The same network she uses every day." His hands curled into fists. "She did this." "There is more," I said quietly. "Open the folder labeled drafts." He clicked. And several documents opened, unfinished petitions. Legal templates. Notes written in Madison's crisp style. Every file pointed toward the same goal, declaring me mentally unfit to manage my own estate. Evan sank onto the couch. "She was building a case, trying to make you look unstable. Those posts, she started them to justify taking control." I sat beside him. "She believes she was owed something your father never gave her." Evan laughed. A broken sound. "She said the property taxes on your house were too much for you. She told me you were confused about bills. I thought she was trying to help. She was laying groundwork." I replied, "Trying to convince you I needed someone to manage my finances. And once that happened," Evan said slowly, "your house, your savings, everything would pass through her." I reached for his hand. "You could not have known." He shook his head. "But I should have seen it. She kept pushing, always asking about your will, always saying you were fragile." He looked at me with grief and anger tangled together. "She targeted you. She targeted us." I closed the laptop gently. "We need evidence strong enough that no one can deny the intent behind this." Evan wiped his face. "I will help, whatever it takes." The room went still. We had uncovered the motive, the strategy, the plan she nearly finished. But there was one thing. We still did not know how far Madison had already gone to take what she believed she deserved. 2 detectives arrived at my house just after sunrise. Evan stood beside me as they asked to review the files we had uncovered. They took screenshots of the drafts Madison had written, the forged statements claiming I was unfit, and the anonymous posts traced back to her office network. When they left, Evan gripped my shoulder. "It is enough," he said. "They are going to her now." By late afternoon, Detective Rowe called. "Mrs. Lorne, we are executing the warrant." Evan insisted on driving me. We parked across from Madison's apartment on Cumberland Avenue, staying back as officers climbed the stairs. Her door opened after a few sharp knocks. Madison's voice rose immediately. "You cannot just walk in here. This is outrageous." Detective Rowe stepped forward. "We have evidence of forged legal documents, online defamation, and attempts to fraudulently obtain control of an estate. That estate is mine. Madison snapped. She stole my father. She stole my life. You think I do not deserve anything after what he did? Her voice cracked. Jagged and raw. He chose her. He chose her son. Do you know what it is like to grow up knowing someone erased you? Evan stepped forward before I could stop him. Madison, marrying me did not fix that. Hurting my mother did not fix that. She stared at him, her expression collapsing. You were supposed to choose me, she whispered. You were supposed to see what she really is. Officers cuffed her gently but firmly. Madison did not fight. She just kept her eyes on me, trembling not with regret, but with something twisted deeper than anger. As they led her down the steps, Evan's hand found mine. His fingers shook. I am sorry. Mom, I am so sorry. I squeezed his hand back, steadying him as best I could. The patrol car door closed, and the street fell silent again. 2 months after Madison's arrest, I signed the lease for a small apartment near Back Cove. It was quiet, sunlit, and simple, exactly what I needed. Evan carried the last box inside and set it gently on the kitchen counter. Are you sure you want to be this close to the water? He asked. I like hearing something calm, I said. After everything, calm feels like a gift. He nodded, adjusting a crooked picture frame on the wall. His movements were softer now, more deliberate, as if he understood the weight of every small gesture. I updated the locks, just in case. He added, I know. I said, thank you. We sat at the small table with 2 mugs of tea. Evan hesitated, then spoke. Mom, I should have seen what she was doing. I should have protected you sooner. I reached for his hand. You were trying to build a life with someone you trusted. There is no shame in that. His shoulders eased. I want us to start over. We already have. Later. After he left. I met with my attorney over the phone and finalized my will. Everything was placed in order. My savings, my house sale, my retirement funds distributed exactly as I wanted. With safeguards, Madison could never touch again. As evening settled, I unpacked a small antique lamp my late husband had given me on our 5th anniversary. The shade was chipped, the base slightly uneven. But the moment I set it on the windowsill, something inside me steadied. I plugged it in and turned it on. A soft, warm glow filled the room. A knock came at the door, just the mail carrier handing me an envelope. Inside was a letter from a former student. You once told me that people can try to make you small, but your worth stays the same. I think you should hear your own advice now. Thank you for everything, Mrs. Lorne. I pressed the note to my chest, letting its truth settle into the quiet. For the first time in many months, I felt the future open unclaimed, peaceful, mine. The lamp glowed in the window, not waiting for anyone, not signaling anyone, simply shining.